Hello and welcome to the Buckets and Tea NBA show. I'm your host, Cathryn Naiker. Thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode. Today, trade deadline reactions with one of my favorites. Welcome back. It's Ashley Docking. How you doing?
Woo, the crowd goes wild. I'm doing really good. I'm losing my mind. NBA trade deadline day is always hectic.
Yeah, I'm also losing my mind. You know, we're recording this Thursday after the deadline has wrapped, and we have wine for this episode. This is a buckets and wine episode. So Ashley, tell us, what do you have to drink?
I don't know. Okay, so I am not a sommelier. Let's just get that out of the way.
Neither am I.
So I get things based on like labels. So I'm drinking, it's a Chardonnay.
Okay.
Something about Macon Villages.
Okay. All right.
That's what I got.
I have this. It's called Best in Show, and it's a Pinot Grigio
with a dog.
With a dog on it. I'm pretty sure this is like an $11 LCBO situation.
Oh yeah, mine's a definite discount special. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Love that. So cheers to us. Cheers to this wild season.
Oh wow.
All right. So let's get into this Kevin Durant business. Okay. Don't worry, we're definitely going to talk about the Raptors.
That's fine.
But let's lead with Kevin Durant here because I first of all, I didn't expect this. Once they traded Kyrie, I figured they were going to keep Kevin Durant because they made such a point over the summer of wanting to keep him happy and they want to build with him and blah, blah, blah. And Nick Claxton's been playing well, yada, yada, yada. And then the next thing you know, it's like middle of the night and he goes to the Phoenix Sun. The actual deal is I have every trade in front of me, so forgive me. So Kevin Durant, along with TJ Warren, go to the Suns for Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and Jay Crowder, who has since already been flipped to the Milwaukee Bucks. So as well as 4 first-round draft picks. So I think right there we can maybe see why the Raptors didn't necessarily make that deal because all those players, in addition to 4 first-round draft picks, is a very high price for Kevin Durant, a deserving price, I will say, but also a high price. This makes Phoenix contenders suddenly.
Okay, so not Kevin Durant. This reminded me of, and this is an old school pop culture reference. So if you don't understand it, do your homework. But not me victim blaming the audience. It's an old school Katie Holmes move. Do you remember when she left Tom Cruise in the dead of night? After Scientology got too much, she literally had a burner phone. Her dad was in on it, but no one else knew, like a very tight inner circle. Similarly to like J-Lo in Enough. Yeah. That's what Durant did. He's like, see you guys tomorrow. And then just like the Magic Johnson meme. I'm not gonna
Wow. Very vivid description. I did not know that's how Katie Holmes left Tom Cruise, or, I just didn't pick up that Hello magazine in 2010.
Yeah, it's okay. Some of us were forced to go grocery shopping with our mom every single time. And that was just like the highlight at the checkout aisle. Yes.
But you're absolutely right. Like he did kind of just leave in the dead of night. And now, I think there's a lot of interesting consequences as a result of this. One, the Phoenix Suns have an offense that's going to be next to impossible to guard, at least for their starting lineup.
Yeah.
So they're going to be a real threat in the West. I think in the East, things have become more wide open, which I believe is why the Raptors didn't end up doing quite as much, but we'll get into that. And but they also did trade a lot of depth to make this happen. And I'm just kind of like, they're going to be running that starting lineup into the ground, Nick Nurse style, is what I'm saying.
Agreed. I think that with Kevin Durant, I feel like he gave them a chance to make it work. Multiple chances. I think he said, listen, this is what I need to be happy. And they're like, yeah. And then they brought over Kyrie. James Harden was there for a cup of coffee. Ben Simmons shows up on the bench and fits every once in a while to do a fit pick in the tunnel. And nothing ended up working out, right? It's the old adage where like, I could give you the recipe, but your sauce just won't taste the same as mine.
Yeah,
like
true.
You can't just build a mega team, a super team, and it works all the time. And I think that that's kind of actually a nice reminder to people who are just like, oh, it's such like BS. They just like got all these star players and it's like, they're going to win. It's like, well, actually this is kind of a cautionary tale to say it doesn't always work that way. So I think he asked for the trade request. They did not grant it initially at the beginning of the season and said they fired Steve Nash, shout out Canadian content. We love that way. But then it still didn't work. So he's like, listen, I got to go back again and strong arm and I need to get out of here. But I'm glad that they at least were kind enough to put him in a position like to succeed.
Yeah.
Kyrie's in Dallas, but they were kind of petty about it. They're like, you're not going to the Lakers. I can tell you that.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that they didn't want to trade Kyrie to the Lakers?
Yeah.
I don't think they care.
I think people are petty.
No, I think the only reason the Lakers trade didn't happen is because they weren't doing a trade that didn't involve Westbrook and they didn't want to take on Westbrook, even though they could have taken on Westbrook and then gotten rid of Durant.
Done the exact same thing.
So I don't really know for sure, but it just feels that's a big effort just to be petty. But you know what? I mean, you do bring up a good point about
if you're dedicated to pettiness, that's what it takes. So yeah, that's what it takes. Is
remember
when
San Antonio thought they were being petty trading Kawhi to the Raptors? Like, we're trading you to the middle of nowhere, basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
it's like, guys, like our metropolitan city is like definitely taking a hit right now with all like the violence on the TTC, but we have things to do here.
This is true.
Culture here.
This is true. Yeah, look, I think you made a good point in terms of like, the super team thing. I mean, you could say the same for the Lakers too, right? Yeah. Like, I think what we've kind of come to the end of is just players demanding who they want on their team and teams just like giving it to them. Like sometimes you don't always know what's best, or sometimes, you're just like, I don't know what makes me happy. Right? Sometimes you're just like, I think this guy will make me happy. I don't know. And then they don't, right?
They rarely ever do, first of all.
They rarely ever do. And from far away with someone else, they always look like they're going to make you happy.
I know.
Right?
I am honestly rooting for Phoenix now. The thing that struck me the most out of all of this is that the West is so nasty right now. It is a gauntlet. Oh my gosh. The Warriors, the Suns, the Clippers, the Lakers,
the Nuggets.
Oh my gosh, the Nuggets.
Grizzlies,
whatever the Grizzlies thought they were doing is like now just like raggedy compared to what everyone else is rolling out. Right?
I have a theory about the Grizzlies, and that is, before I was like, wow, this is like my favorite team to watch. They're so exciting. They're going to be like the next big thing, blah, blah, blah. And now I kind of look at this team and I think there's something about them that just screams they're just a bit too immature to win it all. And I see them as like this group of like frat boys, basically, who are just don't really have their eye on the degree right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Feel like that's the kind of their vibe this season.
Like you're with your girls on the beach just trying to enjoy like a cocktail, and all of a sudden there's this group of guys who are like trying to play football in front of you to like get your attention. Like, all you're doing is getting sand in my charcuterie. Get the hell back, Brad.
Yes. Please. Yes, that sounds like a very lived experience for you.
Not to brag.
Yeah.
Not to brag. No, but I could see that. I could see that, honestly. And I think that we have seen time and time again the value of that experience, the value of that veteran presence. Like, maybe not to the extreme, like how Miami is like riding out Udonis Haslem for, honestly, until the day he dies, it feels like, which, like, good for him. If I wish someone would value me that much, I really do. Like, your presence enough is a gift. Really, they told him, your presence is a present. Please come back.
That's how I'm going to get proposed to one day. Will you be my Udonis Haslem?
And you know what? We're not in those rooms to see the impact that he actually does have. At the end of the day, the NBA is a business, so there must be some kind of intangible that Pat Riley and the gang do really feel like is super valuable. Mm-hmm. But I think the one thing I was looking forward to for the Grizzlies, I never thought they were going to like win it all, but I thought they were going to gain some like really valuable experience. Like maybe go to like a really intense Game 7 situation where they like learned a lot and they showed up really well for it, but then eventually lost to somebody who just like had more gumption, who had just been there, who had just keep their wits about them kind of thing. But now the Grizzlies, to me, aren't even in the conversation, quite frankly. Like they'll be there in the playoffs, great, but they're not, to me, a genuine contender.
Yeah, it seems like the second round is kind of their ceiling right now. And the West everywhere got better, right? Like we haven't even talked about like Dallas and Kyrie. I mean, although that's like a whole, anyone who has ever listened to an episode of the show knows how I feel about Kyrie Irving. But, you know, I mean, they all made moves. Like they've all made moves. And the East is like kind of depleted now, which is like super weird compared to where we were before. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Kevin Durant on the Phoenix Suns. I do think this is going to be a new chapter for them. I think this is the best thing to happen to Chris Paul in a really long time.
Oh my gosh. Can this guy catch a break? Like, besides the fact that he's like a millionaire with like a gorgeous family. But
yeah, sure.
But I really want him to have that success, to reach that mountaintop. You can tell like how badly he wants it, clearly. And he continues to be disrespected. Every once in a while, you get a wave of like Chris Paul's washed kind of conversation. Yeah. It's like, no, but what he did, unlike Russell Westbrook, was he was able to adapt his game, and he was able to utilize different skills and talents when his athleticism waned. And that's why he's been able to be such a very potent point guard. Clinical in the pick and roll, still got a nice stroke. You know what I mean? Like he's able to utilize all those things. I'm a big fan of Chris Paul.
Yeah, and I think like kind of the underrated part of his game at this point is just like the decision making that you get with him on the floor. And now he's going to have someone like Kevin Durant to pass to on a consistent basis. So that's going to be pretty exciting to watch. I was kind of like resentful of how much like TV time the Phoenix Suns were getting all season long. I was like, this team should not be on TV this often.
Okay, so, wow.
You know, but now they've made up for that at least.
Yeah. I'm also a big fan of DeAndre Ayton. I feel like everyone cared about him when there was that contract going around about drama going around about his contract, and was like, DeAndre Ayton's such a bad guy. Like, do something for your team. And he's like, what are you guys talking about? Like, well, I'm just here trying to get a deal. Like, I don't understand why things were twisted so much. It seems like there was some grudge campaign against him, but he's so good too. And like having him protecting the paint, he's pretty athletic for his size too. And then just be able to anchor that whole thing. And I hear what you say about the depth and not necessarily having to run the starters into the ground, but that's really what the playoffs is. Yeah. Like maybe once in a while I will say you do need like your 6 or 7 guy to come up and like steal a game for you or something, or steal a quarter for you. You know, one of those just like kickstart quarters that you really need. But I really feel like a lot of it is going to be dependent on those guys. And if they can figure out some kind of staggered rotation. And I just feel like Kevin Durant in particular is used to heavy lifting as well when he was in Brooklyn, when all his besties weren't playing, right? Like what was that famous quote that he had last year where he like goes down his roster? He's like, I mean, you're running me out here with Luke Kennard. Like, what do you expect? Yeah. Whoever it was that caught strays.
He's like so genuine. Like he's like a little too genuine, you know? But I do appreciate that about it. Imagine like if you were Phoenix Suns media, you'd be like, holy crap, I just won the lottery.
Jackpot.
Yeah. You know, it is surprising that they were able to pull that off without trading DeAndre Ayton. Right. So it seems like whatever differences they've had, they've been able to put them aside, or they're not too worried about them. Right. Yep. So that's great for them. Also, shout out to the new ownership of the Phoenix Suns. Yeah, Matt pulling this off. You know, wish they could have pulled that off from a Phoenix Mercury, but whatever. They're going to be a little irrelevant next season, but it's fine. Yeah, you know, I'm excited for them. I don't know if we have anything else to say about Durant. If you want to move on.
Yeah, we can move on. I'm excited to see where this goes for them, honest to God, because a lot of people might say, oh, he hopped from this team, he hopped to the Warriors, he hopped to this. The point is to win. Like everybody's, I guess I do have one more thing to say, actually. Please. Yeah. Like everybody, every real life person wants to talk about, oh, self-care. Oh, you know, do things for you, set your boundaries, blah, blah, blah. If that job doesn't work for you, quit. If you're not happy, quit, move on, find something else that brings you joy. It's like, you know what brings athletes joy? Winning. Actually competing for titles, like actually being.
Are you saying this is his self-care? Just going to
it is his self-care. I think it is his self-care. And I think that anybody else who disagrees with me is wrong, also incorrect. And if he's in a situation where he's not going to be happy and he has the power to change that, every other person in the world would do the same thing if they were in that position. And that's what drives me crazy. I don't feel like Kevin Durant doesn't get a ton of flack for things like that, but I think there are some people like, oh, he, for sure when he went to the Warriors, but it's like, yeah, he got a call and was like, oh, I can go be successful at the job that I love. See you. Like,
yeah. I do find his friendship with Kyrie Irving very confusing, to say the least. Like, that's an understatement. Like, even like Kyrie made a statement being like, oh, I'm just really happy he got out of there and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you caused the most drama.
I know.
By far.
Do you think Kyrie's the kind of guy who, like, the kind of friend that you like have to warn your other friends about? Like, if I'm going out and like Cathryn's super weird, she like casts spells and like brings incense and shit everywhere she goes. And like, so I'm going out with friends, like my friend Cathryn's coming and like, she's a really great person. But like, if
but you're still inviting me.
If she whips out sage, just like go with it. Yeah, because I love you, but like, you know, you have to warn your friends about some people that like get brought into the group.
Yeah, it's true. I do cast spells, but no, that is so. I mean, I don't know. They have a very toxic friendship, in my opinion, for sure. But I think Kyrie is probably any relationship he has doesn't sound like not toxic. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. How is it? I mean, he literally just lights a fire everywhere he goes.
He does. He is that girl that's like in front of the flaming house. Certainly this year.
Yeah.
That meme where the girl's like laughing in front of the flaming house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. Honestly, like Brooklyn, what are you guys doing though? Like, what are you actually doing over there?
Well, I assume they're rebuilding.
No, but like, I would be having a serious conversation with all my upper management and be like, we are getting lapped. We are getting lapped. We are getting embarrassed. What more do you want? Like, we had all the pieces. Like, something else is happening here and we need to figure out what that is.
Yeah, I mean, I still find it confusing that they made this trade. They didn't have to make this trade with Kevin Durant. At least to the media, he did not request a trade, right? Like leading up to this deadline.
No, so, he did though behind closed doors.
Oh, they're saying he low-key requested a trade?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was like, I need to get out of here. But anyway, Kevin Durant to the Suns, mazel tov.
Yeah, great for him. Okay, let's talk about the Lakers. They made a 3-team trade. They have moved off of Russell Westbrook. They now have D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt, who I actually don't know too much about. Minnesota got Mike Conley and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and the Utah Jazz got Russell Westbrook, Juan Toscano-Anderson, and Damian Jones. And it is heavily rumored right now that Russell's going to be bought out. And then we'll see who he ends up signing with in the buyout market. Wild stuff. I mean, first of all, like, you know, some people think like this wasn't a good move for the Lakers, but I think moving away from Russell Westbrook was the thing to do. You know, I think with D'Angelo Russell, like, I don't trust him as my first option, but if he's like a second, third option kind of thing, then not too bad. I think you froze there for a second, but we're good. You know, I mean, I personally like this. Everyone's saying Russell's going to go to the Clippers. I kind of want that to happen because I don't want the Clippers to win. I mean, talk about being petty. I do not want the Clippers to win. So I don't want the Clippers to win. So if they get Westbrook, I love that because it's a little self-sabotaging to me.
Right.
And they also made like a bunch of other moves this trade deadline, the Clippers. But in any case, how do we feel about the Lakers right now?
I agree with you. I think they had to move on from Russ, mainly because I don't think that you can be on a team with LeBron James and be somebody who is like whatever about things, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. The clip went viral where Russ was trying to give his like pep talk. And honestly, I felt really bad for him in that moment because like, guys, just go out there and have fun. And no matter what, win, lose or draw, just you need to have fun. And even I'm sitting there like, first of all, you can't draw in basketball. There aren't no ties. So that's embarrassing. Second of all, lose. LeBron James lose? That doesn't happen very often. And so when you have somebody who has that mentality, who's just like, let's go have fun. And you know what? He could have also just been saying it in a manner where things were really tense. And he's like, let's just have a good time and like good things will follow kind of thing. I'm willing to give him that benefit of the doubt. But just over the course of his career, he's proved to be so resistant to change and adjustment. And it honestly reminds me of Ben Simmons a little bit with his inability to develop an outside shot or his lack of desire to do so. Like Russell Westbrook is not a slob, right? He's 9-time All-NBA, I believe, former MVP. He has the NBA record for triple doubles in his career. He's a guy. Well, he was one, right? But when you get older and you get slower and the name of your game is athleticism and your mid-range shot is good enough, but you have no range, you need to do something about that. But his inability to want to change has absolutely sewered him. Like imagine someone gave you a job and they're like, we're going to pay you millions and millions of dollars. All I need you to do is go in the gym and just like extend your range a little bit. Like, I just need you to get to like 20 feet. And he's like, that's not me. That's not who I am.
Well, I think he's like delusional. Because I think he thinks he's like, yeah, no problem. And then he can't do it. And then he's like, whatever, that's just one night. And then the next night happens and he still isn't doing it. And he's like, yeah, well, you know, there was a draft in the building that night. Like, you know what I mean? Like he just he just comes off as completely delusional to me because I think he thinks he can do all of those things and then he can't. And I think his poor decision making has become unwatchable. For me, like the way this guy just like ruins end of game plays, the way he bricks so many shots with so much time left on the clock, like he's just so desperate to be that guy that he's like constantly ruining things, like literally. And so that's why I can't wait to see him in a Clippers uniform.
The only thing is that he has made it very clear he doesn't want to come off the bench, but he's not going to go to any of these high level West teams now and be a starter. Like, so he's going to need to have a come to Jesus moment at some point and say, if I want to win again, then this is what I need to be comfortable with. He literally played one game off the bench for the Clippers early on. And he's like, to the media after, he's like, I pulled my hamstring. It's because I'm not used to coming off the bench. That's the reason why. Like,
didn't he cause a whole scene during the game that LeBron became the scoring champ?
It was like they said he took a long time to get off the floor when he was subbed out. I mean, I couldn't see from the angles that I saw, it was the broadcast. So they were just still showing like people in the paint. They were like showing LeBron. They'd cut. So I think it was actually Shea who was taking foul shots and they cut back again. They didn't actually show what was happening on the bench on the other side of the floor. So I don't know if he was just like dragging his feet or whatever, but yeah, apparently he was like just not happy to come off with 59 seconds left in the quarter.
That is ridiculous to make a night like that about you.
I know. It's just unfortunate though too. Like I think you're right about his illusions of grandeur for himself because like that's what kind of got him there though. Right? That's what kind of made him Russell Westbrook to begin with.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, that kind of blind confidence. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it's like, you can't do that. He's like, I am going to go through you and over you and I am going to get this 2 points. No matter who you are, I don't care. You're like, all right, Russ, like, let's see it. And then he would do it. And now it's like, he's still doing that. And you're like, Grandpa, stop. Can't do that anymore.
I mean, like when he was on OKC, like he was a similar player, but he was just like, I guess he was just making more of those shots.
Scoring more. So his turnovers, because he's always had a ton of turnovers, just the pace that he plays and the decision making to a degree for sure. Like that point stands that you made. But like, he was a net positive. And that's just not the case anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the Lakers did ultimately get better, which they absolutely had to do. And I believe they still have kept their 2029 first round pick, but they traded their 2027 first round pick to the Jazz. So, you know, I mean, good for them. They're going to be in the mix. I don't know if they'll get past the first round, but they'll certainly be more relevant than they were. So, you know, that's something.
It definitely puts the well, it's LeBron James, you never know argument back on the table.
Right.
Right? Because that's the whole thing. It's like every single year he gets older. Every single year you're like, this is going to be the year he falls off. And then you never know, though. Like, he continually proves you wrong with so many different things. And so whether or not the team around him is strong enough, he's definitely going to be somebody who's like ready to go about that life for sure. But like, can AD stay healthy? Like, what's his vibe? Because even actually, there was a video that I saw when LeBron hit his shot to pass Kareem, and AD's just like sitting on the bench, hunched over, hands in his lap. Everyone's cheering. Everyone's like, "This is amazing." AD's like, "Seen better." It's like when you literally have it. So that was weird too. I felt like that vibe was awful as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Clippers are kind of weird because, well, they also got Bones Highland, so they've also improved. They're going for it. Yeah. My bias aside, maybe Westbrook to the Clippers is actually kind of a good move. It reunites him and Paul George. They did play well together for a bit. And I don't know, they traded Reggie Jackson. I think he's with the Hornets now. So there's kind of some questions about like who's their starting point guard. So maybe he could sign with them and be their starting point guard. But there's just so much happening. They also got Eric Gordon out from the Clippers. Oh my God. Talk about winners and losers of this whole thing. John Wall is going back to Houston.
Yes.
That is, wow, that's messed up. Did they trade his therapist with him? Like, that is horrible.
Yeah.
Oh my God, did his therapist go with him?
Yeah, everyone that got traded to Houston or like Orlando, I was like, damn.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Gordon is now with the Clippers, so he finally got out of Houston and is going to have to be, playing competitive for the first time in like multiple years now.
They need him to hit a 1-2 shots from the corner. It's fine.
Yeah, so good luck to him. I could see the Clippers making that move, but even if they don't, they have improved. And they do have more depth, which they needed because Kawhi is not reliable. And I was saying like earlier this year, like I was like, I don't think at this point in your career, in Kawhi's career, can he be the best person on the team and win a championship because he just doesn't play enough games. But they have improved the depth around him, and that is going to make a difference.
I don't know though. Like, there's just certain people, and I think Kawhi is one of them, where you don't need to be on the floor every day to make an impact like that. Like, I'm trying to see right now how many games he played when he was in Toronto.
It was like 60 something.
60 games. Yeah, 60.
Yeah, but I mean, he's at a point where like he's not even hitting 50, and I don't know if he can even survive a 7-game series consistently, right? Yeah, like you're going to be resting him in the first round. You might even have to rest him in the second round. Like, is he ever going to play like a game 2 in a playoff series again?
Over on that.
You know what I mean? Because what other games would you rest a player? Game 2 and 4, right? Of a 7-game series. So it's just assuming you win game 1.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't even know if he's gonna...
I guess I see him and I just see somebody because of what he did in Toronto. It's hard to separate those two, right?
Yeah.
It reminds me of like, it's like, this is not, I was just like, to preface, this is not a real life example, but like, in like
unlike TV, you on the beach with those football guys.
I just want to be very clear. Yeah. Like, this is a hypothetical situation where you see in like movies or TV shows or something, and I'm sure someone's real life, that there's like your father figure. We'll just use that because not because I have daddy issues, just because we're talking about men's sports.
I do, but let's go.
But like when you're like, Kawhi to me is like such a great guy, was always there for us when we needed him, didn't skip a beat, brought us to the promised land, was like our savior, our salvation, right? But then it's like, that's my dad, and he like goes out and he like cheats on my mom, or he's like into, he has a life of crime, or you know what I mean? He's just like not a nice guy at the office. It's like two sides to each coin. And I feel
I love how that's all the same thing for you.
And I like, but like you're the guy that you're describing is not the guy that comes home to us and plays Parcheesi. You understand? Is it because it was Parcheesi? I felt like I needed a
no. This was worth the wine. This was worth the wine.
Snakes and ladders. And this is a tangent and a half, but that's just how I feel.
So Kawhi's your dad. to summarize, yeah. I mean, I get it.
I mean, he's no Bernie Docking, but yeah.
Look, we all like. I definitely have like a soft spot for all the players who are on that championship team, and like even like with Serge Ibaka. So now he's with the Indiana Pacers. He might get bought out as well, and I'm like, can we just sign this guy to a minimum and be back on our team? Because to me, I'm just like, if he's gonna sit, if he's gonna be at the end of someone's bench anyway, and that's who he is now. Because of like he had a string of really bad injuries once he went to the Clippers, then like so be it, right? Like why not our team? We do have an extra roster spot. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the Raptors have any other like buyout plans. I do not think that includes Westbrook, but to me, it's like, yeah, why not? You know, but again, that's just my soft spot. Daddy issue bias. Let's go.
I mean, like if you're gonna choose a zaddy, Serge Ibaka is not a bad choice.
He is the sexiest player that's ever been on this team.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, I have seen his Snapchats. Not personally, but the ones that have been like online. I do want to clarify that. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad choice. Although I don't love all the revisiting that's happening. All the
with Jakob Poeltl.
That's like I don't know if we can move on to that, but
let's move on to the Raptors now. Let's talk about Jakob Poeltl. So we've gotten Jakob Poeltl in exchange for Khem Birch and a 2024 first round pick and 2 second round picks as well. So the first round pick is the one that's, you know, the big hot topic in this. It's only top 6 protected. So if the Raptors lose a ton in 2024 and they do draft in the top 6, that immediately goes to the Spurs. That's how it works. Oh, no, that would be ours. But if we draft anywhere 7 or below, then it automatically goes to the Spurs. Sorry, my bad. Yeah. So that's how that works.
I was like, have I been?
I described the complete opposite way of how it works. So basically, if we draft 7 or lower, it goes to the Spurs. Yes. Also, Jakob Poeltl is a free agent at the end of this season, as well as Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. And I do not believe we have the salary cap to sign all 3 of those players. And this team isn't necessarily good enough to justify going into the luxury tax. Although I will say, a hot take alert, the amount we spend on Raptors tickets is enough to go into the luxury tax. Okay. Yes. Okay. So if you're going to do it, you better do it without raising my ticket prices because they've already been raised. I will say that much. But realistically, we're not going to go into the luxury tax for this team. So it just leaves so many more open-ended questions for the offseason for us.
Yeah, it's not what we needed. We were looking for clarity and all we got was confusion and fog more so than anything.
Very much.
The first thing that I thought of, and I was trying to just like take a step back and not be too reactionary. When I heard the deal for Poeltl, I was like, that's a lot to give up. And I don't think that's an unfair critique of the situation. No. It's a lot to give up for a team that is clearly on a downward trajectory as we stand now. Fred VanVleet wants to explore free agency. I think reports have been that Gary Trent Jr. would be more than happy to re-sign. And I think he's been a really great piece for them, particularly with his like sneaky spurts on defense too. He can go off for 30 on random nights and then he's wiry enough to kind of get hands in lanes. So I really like Gary Trent Jr. As a piece to the puzzle. But the thing with Jakob too, and like, I know that although like our offensive rebounding numbers were really great on that West Coast road trip, but yes, okay, a center, sure. We need somebody who's going to be able to protect the paint. We need somebody who's going to be reliable at the rim, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But to me, and feel free to disagree, Jakob Poeltl is very much like an a la carte restaurant. Like He's like the steak at a la carte. It's good and you know it's going to be good, but you know what makes the meal? The potatoes.
Not a Salisbury. You're talking about like some sort of thin Salisbury steak at an a la carte buffet?
No, I'm saying no one said buffet, first of all.
I blame the wine. I'm just blaming the wine at this point.
At a buffet. I said an a la carte.
Okay, you know what? I did a show, like I did a stand-up comedy show, and I was promised steak, and it was in this like lousy buffet situation, and it's like it scarred me.
Salisbury. I used to go hard on the Salisbury steak microwave dinners. I don't know why, but that was like,
that was like college life.
Gravy. Yeah.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. So what I'm saying is that like he in and of himself is like a great item to have. He could be like a high great. We'll say he's not a Salisbury steak. We'll say he's We'll say he's a New York strip. Okay. A medium rare New York strip with like a peppercorn sauce. Great. But when I'm going out for a meal and I want to be satisfied and satiated, I want potatoes and I want asparagus and I want this and I want all these things to make the meal complete. And for me, he just doesn't have the shooting range, for example. Like, where's he going to go pop out to? Nowhere. He barely shoots threes. Right? Like he's going to just he scores most of his points on like a pick and roll. He scores most of his points at the rim, maybe like a cut here and there too. But he like doesn't necessarily bring an outside threat to us. And like, hello, we're going to swap 2s and 3s again? With who?
Yeah, I completely agree with
Houston?
you.
So, like, do you know what I mean? It's just one of those things where like, I think him and himself, he is great. The situation, what they gave up and what the Raptors need in terms of like versatility and what they rely on their players for in terms of like being 5-tool athletes. I just don't necessarily understand it. Again, it's not my job. And I am willing to say Masai and Bobby probably know what's best. They're literally like president and GM for a reason. But for me, I just think it's a lot to give up, especially when the team is in the position they are now. Thoughts?
Yeah. So first of all, I agree with you. And I have, reading into the quote unquote tea leaves here, even though I'm deep into a glass of wine, I cast spells on social outings.
No, I said sage.
Sage. Sure. We'll go with Sage. But, Masai did a press conference just before we started recording this. And he said that the blockbuster trade, quote unquote, wasn't available to us. And so my theory, just a theory, is, because a lot of people are talking about like, are we going to trade Fred? Right. Yeah. And I think the league is looking at this team, realizing they don't have the money to sign back Fred and Gary Trent Jr. and now Jakob Poeltl.
Yeah.
And I think they're thinking, why give up any assets now when we can probably get these guys in free agency because the team is not winning. So there's less of an incentive for us to sign them. Now, I'm not claiming that they don't like it here in Toronto or anything like that, but I just mean from a wins and losses perspective, right? We're not doing that great. They could move on to a better winning situation. And Fred VanVleet, the last time he was a free agent, specifically said on JJ Redick's podcast that he's going after the bag. Yeah. He wants the bag. He will pick the team that offers him the most amount of money. So the league knows that if they really, really want Fred, there's an opportunity to outbid us for him. And now there's an even greater opportunity to outbid us for him because we have multiple free agents to potentially re-sign. Yeah. So I think that's why that blockbuster trade wasn't on the table for us after all. And I think, trades for OG, maybe we just waited too long. Because in December, Zach Lowe was reporting a quote unquote Donovan Mitchell-like return for OG Anunoby. And I think maybe we just waited too long for that offer to still be there. And Gary Trent Jr., I don't know. I haven't heard any specific rumors around him at all. There is something out there that's saying that the Raptors offered the Clippers Terrence Mann and a first-round pick, and they turned it down. And everyone seems pretty confused by that because that seems like a pretty good deal for the Clippers, which tells me even more so that I think people are just waiting to get him in free agency.
Waiting to see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on people's reluctance to let OG go? because I feel as though it's a very polarizing topic in the Raptors community. Some people are like, I am ride or die. OG and I, like, we're riding off into the sun together. And then some people are like, take the return. But it feels overwhelmingly like there's that 2019 like daddy connection. Just like continue for the callback. I know you know about callbacks. You're a comedian. So.
Yes, I do. I love that so much. Yeah, it's a great question because I think what makes, OG is not just a very good defender, but a very good defender for his age. Right. And he's always embraced being a really good defender. And he has this cool confidence about him. I think the shot that he made against Boston in the bubble stays in everyone's mind as well. And so, yeah, I do believe OG Anunoby is a real quote unquote commodity. We do have him through to next season. So I think maybe on the Raptors side, they're like, we don't have to trade him now because we're not in any way a threat of losing him. And there's a reason why everyone else in the league wants him. Mm-hmm. So, the Masai and Bobby decided to be buyers. And if you're going to be buyers, you don't give up someone like OG Anunoby if you're trying to win games. And I think the fact that this team decided to be buyers is confusing because there's a lack of evidence based on this season to suggest that being buyers is a good idea right now. And I think that is why everyone is confused.
Ma'am, your hypothesis has been absolutely shredded from multiple doctors in the community. They've said that this is just not feasible, yet you keep practicing on patients. What is happening?
Yeah, But yeah. I mean, okay, here's the thing. It's possible, and this is, again, theory talk, that the Kevin Durant trade and maybe the Kyrie Irving trade even before that did change things because suddenly the Brooklyn Nets aren't competing for a championship anymore. Right. And really in the East, it's Boston and it's Milwaukee in the top two, and the rest is wide open. So now there's a world where it's just like next season and we make this crazy run in the last part of the season. And suddenly, we're sixth in the East again. Right. I mean, it feels like anything can happen. I mean, the Sixers also did. We didn't talk about the Sixers. The Sixers did make some moves, and they're also very much in the mix. I would put them in that top three right now. But I do believe like that Eastern Conference playoff series seems to be fairly locked with the Celtics and the Bucks. So, I mean, maybe Masai and Bobby are talking themselves into the fact that, hey, like we could be in the playoff mix again this year. In addition to the fact that you're thinking, okay, Scotty Barnes is going to be better next year, right? Precious Achiuwa is going to be better next year. We've already seen him improve this year, especially in the last month.
Secretly is one of my favorite players in the NBA right now.
Chris Boucher? Yeah. Chris Boucher is still great. Pascal and Freddie, if they keep Freddie, but certainly Pascal, you would anticipate riding steady, in terms of his growth. So you're like, okay, yeah, we're going to be even better next season. The East is more wide open than it used to be. We have improved overall with Pearl, at least for now. Yep. And, you're just picking the most optimistic route possible. But, doing that in... it's a real blind faith scenario. Right.
It is very much like bet on yourself. Like maybe
like real bet on yourself.
Like Masai and Bobby have been wearing too much merch. They've been just seeing the hashtag too frequently, Freds. And now they're just like full bet on ourselves too. Like everyone's like, are we sure about this? I think that your point is well made though. The last thing I need in my life is a fraudulent second round run. Oh, that would just,
just like all season long, we've had these fraudulent fourth quarter runs, and now we're just going to do that to the whole season.
Which is like very reminiscent of like Raptors 2016, 17. Mm-hmm. I feel like that used to be their MO. Like, oh, fourth quarter? No, just kidding. No.
Look, personally, if it were me, like, I don't know what kind of offers they got for OG Anunoby.
Yeah.
Right. So it's hard to say, should they have pulled the trigger or not? Because we just don't know what was being offered. We don't know if what Zach Lowe was saying was true or not. All of that stuff.
Are you calling Zach Lowe a liar?
I'm calling Zach Lowe a full-on liar. No kidding. I'm sure he heard it from somewhere.
To believe this
while he was getting a little New York slice of pizza, somewhere in a bodega. I'm sure Zach Lowe heard that, but
So yeah, essentially they decided to just like the ship is taking on water. And the front office decided, hey, we just need like 4 nails and this 1 plank of wood. We're going to just see if we can make it across the ocean. No need to jump out and like start from scratch. And so I think that if the fan base has belief in Masai and Bobby, which they've proven to have our backs, they've proven to know what they're doing a couple times. So if anything that you want to read into from an optimistic point of view is that if these two and the rest of their front office organization didn't see the need to start running scared and selling off pieces and acquiring picks, which by the way, I do think can be exceptionally overrated, especially protected picks. Cause like, who knows, right? If they felt like there was enough to just kind of like stay the course, then I think that the fan base should feel optimistic about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to feel optimistic right now, but I do think overall, okay, let me say this. Here's my little hot take. The whole trust in Masai thing is officially on the hot seat.
Got it.
Right? It's officially on the hot seat. I'm not going to say I don't trust in Masai, but it's officially on the hot seat. And, we will see how the rest of this season unfolds. But now, like, you look at Nick Nurse and it's really, and this team, they got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's low key, well, not even low key. I mean, he's been calling players out literally in the media, right? And he's basically not taken really responsibility for our disappointing season so far. And so really it's going to be on him and the rest of his coaching staff to look at this roster and figure it the fuck out.
Well, and that's the thing too, like there's been so many people who have exited this coaching staff, and I feel like that's been a big impact too on like how things have happened. Cause like, yes, okay, Nick Nurse, the box and one king, he made these like really risky decisions that paid off, but like high risk, high reward. Like I'm here for it. Trust me. Like I do not necessarily make the smartest decisions all the time, but when it pays off, you're like, yes, like I had a feeling, right? So he does deserve credit for that. But at the end of the day, you also have to understand that this coaching staff is vast and they are a team and they work part and parcel with each other. And so maybe he's also trying to figure some stuff out with the new people that he brought in and maybe doesn't have long-standing relationships with, as opposed to the ones that he initially had in 2019 was he was here. And then all that success obviously breeds envy, and then other teams come and try and like grab.
True.
And so now his, I guess, think tank has to be rejuvenated, and he needs to learn how to trust people as well, because I think it is fair to say that head coaches have an ego about them. You need to have faith in the decisions that you're making, and you need to be confident enough to tell these athletes who are some of the best in the world, no, not that, this. And if you don't have full belief in that, they'll see right through it. So there needs to be an element of that. But I think in hand, what comes with that is also having to trust people that are going to be advising you and be like, okay, like, I hear you, but let's see if like that comes to pass. And then maybe I'll take your suggestion next time, kind of thing. So that would just be like how I'm trying to put myself in that position. Not that I've been an NBA head coach, but I have been like a basketball coach, and you either trust somebody or you don't. And when you don't, you're a little bit more hesitant to kind of like take their advice until you build that rapport. And that stuff doesn't happen overnight as well. So there's a lot of moving pieces with this team, I think, is what we're seeing this year. But the reports that vibes are low are not sitting well with me. Because at the end of the day, the one thing the Raptors always had was like a good time. Regardless if they were winning or losing, they had a good time. It was like bench mob, peace skills, laughing ear to ear, yak and skills, Fred and Norm just in general being a vibe, Norm and Kawhi, their little friendship, Kyle, like a curmudgeon, but then also had these like playful moments too. And so Serge, what about scarves? Like you can romanticize it as much as you want, but it was true. And they always had a feel good thing about them. And that is missing this year. And I think that that's what makes all of this more difficult. And I'm sure losing, of course, will contribute to negative vibes, but that camaraderie is missing. I'm sorry. I have not seen any Raptor on each other's Instagrams. I have not seen any.
Except for today. Fred posted Pascal and Jakob Pertl on his
well, that's
Instagram
cute
today.
though. Yeah.
But literally only today.
Yeah, and like a few stuff in the comments and things like that. Like last year we saw it a little more with like Malachi Flynn and the boys. I feel like there was a moment where they were all like roasting each other kind of stuff. Or like when OG posted, everyone's like, what, you exist? But overall, you're not like seeing a lot of that kind of like playfulness and togetherness in everyday life. And to be fair, maybe they're just keeping it super undercover. But even like, and this is definitely reading into it too much, so I want to preface it by saying that. But even for Chris Boucher's birthday, he had a party in Toronto. I didn't see any pictures with any Raptors.
Not really?
Yeah. And I'm not saying that they weren't there. I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that they weren't there because I also was not there. But generally speaking, in the past, like we've seen birthday party pictures and it's like Fred and the boys and whatever the case may be. And so I just didn't see any media. And there was a lot of people that I knew that were there. I guess I could have asked them and done some real reporting before I came on the show and decided to say this. But I didn't think we'd be talking about it.
That's fine.
But it just wasn't publicly out there is all I'm saying. And so whether or not that means something or means nothing, that's for the audience to deduce. But it's just something that I've noticed that there seems to be a little bit less.
Yeah, there's definitely been issues with the quote unquote vibes this season. I mean, even earlier this year, we had reports of Masai flying into, what was it, Orlando to talk to Scotty Barnes and stuff like this. Like, you know, but I do think the team has taken a turn as of late. And this could have easily been a too little too late scenario. But, you know, Masai and Bobby have chosen to take it an optimistic route, as we've said. So, you know, maybe things are getting better. Like Gary Trent Jr. said today that, you know, he's happy that they decided to, you know, stick with this group more or less. I'm paraphrasing, but he did say that when he was at an event, this like KFC thing that Will and Alex Wong keep talking about. But
no free press. Don't say KFC.
Okay. Wow. See, Ashley is a business woman. Okay. I was like promoting this wine and stuff. I don't know what
I
I'm
have
doing.
A bucket of chicken with me now.
Yeah. I'm just shouting out brand names everywhere. I got a Janet Jackson hoodie on. We'll allow the Janet Jackson hoodie. I'm seeing her. I paid for a meet and greet May 23rd. I'm really excited. But it was very expensive.
I bet it was. I bet it was. You better get a solo picture with her. Sometimes at those meet and greets, they try and mess around and put you with like another random fan or some shit. You better insist on an individual picture.
I will insist. Thank you for that. That's good advice. And I will
stand your ground.
I will. I decided I'm going to buy like, I don't know, like I'm going to get a whole cute outfit for it. Like these pictures are going to be with me forever.
You should get her something that like is like, it's super weird and like very like fanny. It's like giving like Taylor Swift fan vibes, respectfully. But like you should get her something that you both like can wear in that moment, like, and be like bestie pics.
Oh my God. What could I give Janet Jackson that she'd actually wear?
Like it's just for the picture. She could throw it out after, but like you just need it in that moment. So like me and Janet are like, because like she's not keeping all her fan gifts.
No,
I'm sorry. Like whoever thinks that is crazy. No one has that much storage space. But I think that you need to think about something. Like I don't know what it would be. Like
oh no, she's been famous longer than I've been alive.
Yeah,
so it's really hard to stand out.
I don't know. You're gonna think about it.
Yeah, I have till May, so I do have time.
Friendship bracelets.
Oh my God, friendship bracelets?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then like you could write together.
Be like,
again.
Please don't make me wear this cheap shit on my
together wrist. Again. You could put in beads.
Oh my God. These are all actually very good ideas. But okay, Ashley. So this Raptors trade, basically you and I both agree we're a bit confused, but I can appreciate the optimism on some levels, right? Like we know Scotty and Precious are going to kind of level up, and it makes sense that they would want to keep building around these guys. You know, OG Anunoby is a potential defensive player of the year person if we win enough games.
Well, if he can stay healthy, like,
and if he can stay healthy,
like, hello, are we going the way of Kawhi Leonard?
Okay, so let's ask you this question: Do you wish we made a deal with OG Anunoby?
Only if,
as I pour myself a bit more wine,
only if you were getting, I think, also like a substantial player back. I would not be okay with letting him go for just a haul.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you would have to have like a game-changing guy on the way back also, or somebody that you believed in. Like I heard on a stadium show, Shams was incorrectly pronouncing OG's name, first of all.
Yeah, I kept saying and a newbie.
And a newbie.
It was really awkward.
Like saying it like en français, OG and a newbie. I was like, it's just letters. It's just the letters. Yeah, whatever. I get it. It happens to the best of us, but also like, come on, my guy. He's literally the diamond of the season. When they're like, he's going to the Warriors. And I immediately was like, give me Jordan Poole. Like, I don't think they ever would, but I was like, that's something that I could get down with.
But that's the type of player you would have to be trading for that to make sense.
Like on the up and up, a change maker, multiple tools, but that has, to me, just a little bit more, I guess, like offensive firepower.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I completely agree with you, but it's just like any team that's trying to win that could benefit from a player like OG Anunoby isn't going to give up a Jordan Poole-like player for him.
That's the game.
And I think for us, trading him for some sort of like quote unquote haul, right? Like you said, it's like that's going to set us back like several years.
Yeah, no one's trying to do that. I agree. I think picks are overrated unless I'm getting like a top 3 not protected pick. Give me that. Yeah. But otherwise, there's just too many unknowns. And then also from what we've seen, there's just so much of a learning curve as well. Some players end up being exactly what you thought they were, but a lot take time. Yeah, a lot do. And so your timeline matters as well. And so I'm glad to see that the Raptors are still in like quote unquote win now mode, as opposed to just like selling the farm. But I think that they have reason to, and I think everybody has reason to. I'll end with this, just saying that like the pieces that you outlined have such potential. They just need just like those 1 or 2 little sparks that have those intangibles that just have instant chemistry almost with some of the other players on the floor, that are reliable. I think reliability is a big factor as well. And then, I mean, if OG can stay healthy, that's great, but like he hasn't so far.
Yeah. A couple things to what you're saying, because I think you are making, again, great points. Like, I think for one, I think Masai decided that he wanted to give this team the rest of this season to figure it out. And then I think the off season, there's going to be, a lot of things happening with this team for sure, guaranteed. And I think the thing with OG in terms of like all his injuries, I'm not worried about them yet because they're all kind of bizarre injuries, right? Like he falls on his wrist really weird, or like, he had
Shouldn't the whole give you more concern?
No, because what would give me more concern was if he had a chronic knee injury or like a chronic ankle injury, and it was like the same injury over and over again. Because that's when okay, this person's career is going to have a shorter shelf life. I mean, but because Steph Curry might have something to say about that.
Steph Curry might have something to say about that. Him and his raggedy ankles, winning championships.
Okay, but it's never been something like an ACL that like sits you out for like a year, unless I'm not remembering like he had like surgery and stuff. He had to like rehab.
But
what was that, like 2014?
It was a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And he hasn't since, right? Like he does like, but his ankle still bothers him and it's always a concern, but he hasn't been out for like that length of time since.
No, he's not like Kawhi resting for sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like if he like, tore his ACL and then came back and then suddenly I'm not a doctor, but you know what I mean? Like suddenly,
thank you.
It was like the other knee is like a meniscus tear because he was like, leaning on the other knee too much or something like that. That to me would be a bigger concern. So it is concerning generally, but I'm just not like as worried because at least it hasn't been like a chronic thing in one particular area.
Yeah, and we do know that the Raptors are cautious when it comes to that stuff. So there could be an abundance of caution as well, which I do appreciate that they're focused on athletes like longevity and like generally as people, as opposed to just getting back out there. But who knows? I mean, we might be in a sign and trade situation in the off season for Fred or something like that. Like he might give us enough grace to offer the team that kind of scenario in lieu of his free agency, as some players do. I don't know, but they've decided to put all this off for the summer. Masai did say that he doesn't believe the trade deadline is a good time to make long-term decisions. Yeah. So,
yeah, it's been weird. And now we're just going to have 6 more months of, talks about this team and the roster, which is a bit frustrating.
Yeah, let the toxicity begin.
Yes. It has begun. That's so
yeah. Let it continue.
Let it continue. Let it continue.
Sure. Let it remain.
Okay, Ashley, I'm surprising you with. I say this sarcastically. Your favorite segment.
Oh my God!
Hottie highlight of the week.
Oh Jesus.
But I think you'll appreciate this one. So I was at the Raptors Republic Live event on Tuesday. Shout out to everyone who came. And I was talking to, I'm going to keep this person anonymous because I didn't ask them if I could say this ahead of time. But I was talking to them and they were like asking me like, yo, like, do you really love Nick Nurse? And by the way, this person is like, let's just say they're a notable person. That's all I'll say. They're like, yo, do you really love Nick Nurse? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, why? And then I was like trying to explain, like, Craig Sager night, blue jacket. He had a bit more hair back then. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to explain where my obsession with him started from. And then he was like, okay, I get it. And then was basically like, Cathryn, you're too good for Nick Nurse.
Wow.
Isn't that wild? And this is somebody who knows.
That's somebody
who knows Nick Nurse.
But I love that for you. And I agree. I co-sign.
I was like, oh my God, thank you. That's like I was like, that is the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me.
Like the bar is here.
The overreaction was very real.
We need to raise that up for you. Me, little old me, but in a Nick Nurse. You don't say.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, damn, that's like such a huge compliment. And they were not being flirtatious, just for the record.
I love that. So you're like,
it wasn't, they weren't trying to like butter me up for those reasons.
And then you fought them after. You're like, how could you say that about Nicholas? And now we don't talk.
I did. Sean Woodley on that panel was fully like, Nick Nurse needs to be fired, and I was like, how dare you? But we were just having fun. We were just having fun.
That does sound like Sean though.
Yeah, Sean's great. Sean's been on the show before. But yeah. Anyway, that's my hottie highlight.
Wow,
it's a good one, isn't it?
Say who it was.
No,
Michael Grange.
No, it's Michael Grange.
What?
It's just a really funny guess because I've never met him.
Oh, okay. I love Michael.
Now I can't. Well, now we've ruled him out, which is bad. But anyway, someone said that to me, and I was very pleased. I can't keep doing this. Like, you can't keep guessing.
I like have the picture.
It was not Samson.
Okay. Do I get one more guess?
I don't know. I'm too afraid to have you have another guess.
Right.
But yeah, it wasn't Samson.
All right. Well, congratulations on being too good for Nick Nurse.
Thank you.
That's the tea.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for listening to our trade deadline silliness, messiness. Let us know how you feel about the Raptors, about other teams in the league. Very curious to get your other opinions. We've been reacting to this like pretty much shortly after the trade deadline ended. It's a little early for wine, but we committed to wine a week ago. So we really just had to go with it. I'm probably going to go buy groceries like a bit tipsy drunk now and buy more than I need.
Yeah, I gotta get flowers for someone's birthday.
Oh, that's so nice. See, at least you're going to a birthday. I should be having an event to go to after drinking wine this early, but I don't. And we're just gonna eat a bunch and splurge. Ashley, thank you so much for joining me. Please let us know. You're up to so much, so please take a minute to let us know like everything you're up to and where people can follow you on the internet.
You can find me at SmartAsh on Twitter. You can find me at Ashley Docking on Instagram. I am on TSN for the NLL Game of the Week, and I'm changing lives as a professor at multiple institutions. No big deal.
Okay, but you can elaborate on that if you'd like to, considering you're changing lives.
I'm a teacher. I'm a media professor. That's it.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
And that's the tea. I feel like you need to end every episode like that.